Well, a very good evening. The dust has barely settled on an incredible first season of Major League Pickleball Australia, and we're set to do it all again. What an outstanding beginning to 2024. There's a lot on the line here, potentially 48 players that we have to go head-to-head with. There's 12 captains, 12 teams. They're remaining from Season 1, but the rest is up in the air. 36 roster spots up for grabs, and tonight we settle it all with the Season 2 draft for Major League Pickleball Australia 2024. A very good evening. My name is James Preston. Joining me here this evening is the Major League Pickleball Australia League Commissioner, Sanj Carter, the Pickleball Australia Association Executive Officer, Brendan Lee, and our official commentator for the draft, Gordon Watson. Ladies and gents, good evening.
Good evening.
Great to be here.
Look, it's going to be a very, very enticing evening here of all sorts of twists and turns. So much to try and get through. Of course, 36 spots up for grabs on our roster. And ultimately, there's a lot that we have to go through in terms of actually getting those players into potentially their new teams, maybe even some players continuing on with the same team for Season 2. But Sanj Carter, as our League Commissioner, take us through the rough concept of how this draft works.
So we will be running a snake draft. It is reverse order from where the teams finished in Season 1. So the Northern Crocs, which were the top of the table, they will have the last pick in the draft. And the New Zealand Hustle, who finished at the opposite end of the table, will kick us off. So normal snake draft, 3 rounds, 3 picks each. We'll end up with 36 players, adding to the captains over those 3 rounds.
Terrific stuff. Well, Gordon, let's begin with yourself here. Now, Sanj made mention there, Northern Crocs will have the last pick. It was a jam-packed season for them. So many awards, so many accolades, 2 championships along the way. Rose van Riek, for example, one of our outstanding players there. So there's a lot of different things that are up in the air a bit at the moment for Summer Dallabona as the captain of the Northern Crocs. I would guess that she's going to have a hard time holding on to that same team. Do you think she can keep the band together?
Well, that's the big question, and you touched on a few things there. Season 1 was jam-packed. It was the biggest events. It was the biggest prize money. It had the biggest audience. It had the biggest viewership. It was a big season, and Summer Dallabona had the season to cap everything. She had MVP players on her team, and they took away the championship. It's going to be hard to keep that team together.
Yeah, I certainly think it will be. You mentioned there as well the big prize money, of course, across 2024, $700,000 up for grabs. I only got halfway through it too. There's still plenty of cashola to go around. Now let's hop here to Brendan Lee. We're going to go from the opposite end here on the ladder. So obviously, final season standings, Northern Crocs were outstanding. There are a few teams that struggle though. This is a really good opportunity for them to basically fix what went wrong in Season 1.
Look, without a doubt, something that doesn't change going into Season 2 is the captains. And these captains have definitely learnt a lot from Season 1 when they drafted these teams. And I guess what I want to see is a lot of the captains, did they draft with their head or did they draft with their heart in Season 1? And I'm sure they've learnt from that, so we'll see some definite change-ups on who they draft in Season 2. They've learnt a lot more about the international players and the players from Asia Pacific, so buckle up.
Buckle up indeed. I think we might need the safety belt there. Look, we'll take a look at the final standings in just a moment, but Sanj, we'll bring you back in here once more. Let's get a little bit more in depth about how this draft does work because, of course, 3 picks to be made here from the captains.
Yeah, absolutely. Each team, they need to make 3 selections. They must select 1 player from their region, either Australia, New Zealand or Asia. Their second selection can be anywhere from Asia Pacific, and their third selection, they can choose an international or they may choose to make another selection in Asia Pacific. Of course, those can be had in any order and they will be occurring over those 3 rounds in the snake format. So we're going to see lots of different strategies from the captains and it's going to be really exciting to see which way they go and was their planning true to their predictions or will they throw it out the window and just grab the candy?
Yeah, the spanner can certainly get thrown into the works, that's for sure. Round 1, of course, Northern Crocs will be going last following their outstanding season. New Zealand Hustle beginning things, and then it all flips for round 2, and then once more we go back to the start for round 3. But in terms of how things ended up for Season 1, let's bring up the overall standings here because an outstanding season for multiple teams, certainly all north of the border. We're, of course, coming to you live from Melbourne, but if we head all the way up to the top of Australia, Queensland dominating proceedings there. Take a look at that overall standings there. Brendan, I'll start with you. Obviously, the Crocs, the outstanding team. Nipping at their heels, though, the Gold Coast Glory.
Yeah, look, at the top of the ladder there, you can see the Queensland teams really performed well in Season 1. And look, Pickleball has been operating in Queensland for a long time, for 4 or 5 years now in comparison to some of the other states. There's also a lot of pedigree in Queensland with those captains as well.
And Gordon, not just those two Queensland sides, the Eastern Rush as well, very strong there with so many tight contests there, a lot of dream breaks throughout their season too. It's hard to split some of these top teams.
Absolutely, and although it looks clear cut that the Crocs ran away with season one, it wasn't as clear cut as you would think. A few dream breakers with a difference and a few matches that could have gone here and there, and that whole ladder could have ended a completely different way. So, it's tantalising. Season one was incredible, and I just can't wait to see how this unravels in the next hour. It's going to be incredible.
Well, another thing I want to touch on there, Gordon, as well, we talk about here, we're focusing a fair bit on the top of the ladder, but there were a few late movers in the season as well. The fast fours, for example, finished very fast for that matter. They've shot up a fair bit. So do you think some teams, and I don't want to suggest that they were maybe tanking towards the end of the season, but there would have been one eye on potentially the future for season two, and just thinking, what opponents am I going to come up against? What do I take out of playing these various teams? So talk me through how you think that final stage of season one impacted potentially the start of season two.
Well, I think there's no doubt all of the teams were trying their guts out in season one. But what we'll find in this season two draft, I think it will be a bit of a leveller. I think because of the snake draft draw, it's an opportunity for those teams that didn't do so well last season to have first pick and really have first bite of the cherry for season two. So I think it's going to be a leveller, and season two is going to be action personified.
Absolutely, and the captains will have a lot on their plate to try and contend with here as we unfold things for the Season 2 draft for Major League Pickleball Australia. Let's meet the captains. If you're brand new to the sport, you don't know who they are, here they are on your screen. Mitch Hargraves, of course, the captain of Sydney Smash. Ludovica Shaki, she's been a stalwart there up in Brisbane for the Breakers. Sarah Burr, one of the ultimate competitors in pickleball, not just in Australia but worldwide. She's the captain of the Gold Coast Glory. Aaron Blitz, our local Melbourneite here for the Melbourne Mavericks. Katie Hart for the Eastern Rush, and Jai Grewal as well for the Southern Stars. So that's our bottom six, if you will, not necessarily in order, but there's a few captains there who have got a little bit to work on. For example, Aaron Blitz for the Melbourne Mavericks, they finished the standings overall in second last. Just quickly touching on those first six there, who are some of the captains that you're thinking are in for a big night here tonight, Brendan?
Look, I think Aaron Blitz, he's a man of the people, isn't he? I think everyone here in Australia knows Aaron Blitz. We know his story, and so many people rally behind Aaron. So I'm very keen to see how Aaron drafts tonight. I think a lot more people will choose with their heads over their hearts, and I'm very excited to see how that unfolds.
And of course, that's only six of our captains. Let's meet the rest of them now as well. They're continuing on from season one. Summer Dallabona, of course, the captain of the Northern Crocs, the all-conquering Crocs for that matter. Paige Chan Cow for the Southeast Asia Surge. Andy Horridge for the Western Vipers. Matt Carter for New Zealand Hustle, who will have the first draft selection here this evening. Vanish Chen for the Asia Aces, and George Wall from the Fast Four. So a lot to contend with there. We've talked about the dominance of those Queensland teams, the Queensland captains, and guess what? That's where the new season starts. It's up in the Gold Coast, and it's not just heading north of the border. It's also a case of a very lavish little bit of a lifestyle up there, isn't it, Sanj?
It is, and we thought, look, we've got absolutely premier players in premier teams, so let's go to absolutely premier venues. So we are at the Royal Pines Resort, RACV Resort on the Gold Coast to kick open the season. We then head to Vietnam to the Carmelina Beach Resort, and then we wrap up the season down here with the Melbourne Championship. So we're really excited. 3 major league pickleball venues for major players, and we're going to have the major crowd on board too.
Look, it's not just pickleball, it's almost a vacation as well. You get to soak up all the sun, have a bit of a tan. Sanj, we'll let you go and have a vacation. You've got some important work to do as the league commissioner, so we'll bid you a farewell for that. Safe travels.
Be back on the panel shortly, boys.
Yes.
Well, look, boys, in the meantime, let's run through this team draft pick order. So we've already made mention here of New Zealand Hustle getting the first selection, Northern Crocs the last, but let's quickly run through here the remaining picks. So in pick number 2, Melbourne Mavericks. The 3rd is Asia Aces. 4th is Western Vipers. 5 is the Southern Stars. 6th, the Brisbane Breakers. Sydney Smash, this is perhaps a surprising one that they finished perhaps that low in the standings after season 1. They'll get 7th selection. Southeast Asia Surge, who were very strong in Sydney but then fell away a bit as the season progressed. They're now picking at 8. Fast Fours in at 9 with a fast finish, and then all the Queensland teams, they're bunched up between picks 10, 11, 12, the Eastern Rush, Gold Coast Glory and the Northern Crocs. And then, of course, for round 2, we switched the whole thing. For round 3, we are back to the same order as round 1. So a lot to get through here. I want to focus on some of our outstanding performers, though, from season 1. There were some terrific contributors. Arguably, Brendan, though, Rose van Rijk, hard to go past her.
Yeah, look, Rose's performance in season 1 was nothing short of phenomenal, both on court at the MLP, but also with the PPA events that are attached to that. She had phenomenal results in singles, doubles and mixed doubles. And obviously alongside Summer Dallabona, alongside Nielsen, alongside Amman, they had some terrific results, obviously taking out the first 2 events and obviously having a good run in Brisbane in the third. Unfortunately, said running out of a little bit of puff there in the end. But
still, of course, reaching the semi-finals once more. So even when they're perhaps a little bit off their game, they're still thereabouts, the Northern Crocs. But as to whether they can keep the band together, as I mentioned to Gordon, that's the big question moving forward. Gordon, we've just touched on Rose being an outstanding contributor. Who would you say from the men's side has probably been the peak performer out of season 1?
Well, I mean, if you look at that list there, I mean, you can't go past Roman Estereja. He was the MVP in Brisbane. He had a fantastic MLP performance there. And I like to think that Roman's created a bit of an Estereja effect in Australia with his lob. He lobs to perfection. He's just a weapon on the court. And I think any team would die to have him as part of their team.
Well, you mentioned dying there. He's someone who doesn't let the player die ever. You're talking about the lob, but I remember at the Sydney Open, he was diving for balls left, right and centre. So Roman certainly, yeah, a terrific selection there. But in terms of selections, we've done enough talking here. It's now time for the captains to do their talking, to do their bidding, to do their selection. Let's throw it over to our Major League Pickleball Australia League Commissioner, Sanj Carter, for our first official pick for Season 2.
With the number 1 pick in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the New Zealand Hustle select from Australia, Danielle Townsend.
Wow, gentlemen, there we go. So shifting from the Gold Coast Glory to New Zealand across the ditch. Now, it was a big first season for Danielle Townsend, and of course, part of it, I think, was just the vigour that she plays with. Every single match, she is in it to win it.
Look, she plays with a passion like no other on the court. And look, that culminated in the result that Gold Coast Glory had in Brisbane at the last event of season 1. What I love about Danielle Townsend is that different background that she actually brings to pickleball. Unlike most of them bringing their tennis backgrounds to pickleball, Danielle Townsend actually brings her table tennis background, and that variety and that difference is the X factor for Danielle on the court, as well as her passion. So congratulations to Danielle. That's an awesome result to get number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, number 1 draft pick, of course, for season 1, it was Lucas Pascoe. We've got a female this time around, first off the blocks, Gordon.
And thoroughly deserving. Danielle is one of my absolute favourite players. She's got a fantastic all-round game. And through season 1, she just got better and better and better throughout the season. And I think she was the main reason, or one of the main reasons with the whole Gold Coast team, why they won that last event. So Danielle, congratulations, number 1 draft pick. Well done.
And I'm sure she'll also really be helping New Zealand hustle here with that first venture up into the Gold Coast to start season 2, given she is a Gold Coast local. But with that said, congratulations to Danielle Townsend, our number 1 draft pick for season 2 of Major League Pickleball Australia 2024. But let's pick it up with Sanj Carter and pick number 2.
With the number 2 pick in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Melbourne Mavericks select from Australia, Rose van Rijk.
Well, I don't think there was ever too much consideration about Rose going somewhere in the first round of selections here. Brendan, you mentioned it as we were talking about the top performers across season 1. She was just about number 1 in every aspect, so very, very unsurprising that she's gone early here.
Look, she was a top performer in season 1, and deservedly she's going number 2 into tonight's draft pick. Like, Rose brings a great all-court game to pickleball, but as well, she brings one of the best personalities in pickleball to the court. And, you know, I think that spirit resonates really well with Aaron. As I said before, he's a man of the people. And I think those two together as a combo is going to bring good things for the Melbourne Mavericks.
Gordon, I said this right at the top of the show here tonight that it was going to be hard for Summer Dallabonna to keep the band together. Well, straight away, there goes her gal pal, Rose van Rieck, is off.
I know. Well, you should be take my position as official commentator. But you're right on the money. You know, like when you've got a talent like Rose, she's a hard commodity to keep. And well, you've got to hand it to her. She's in Europe at the moment. She's just won a triple crown at the Spanish Open in Madrid. She's not only a hot commodity, she's playing hot pickleball, and it's a great draft.
And look, she's still quite young overall. There's a long way for Rose van Rieck to go in this sport.
Oh, completely. When you think about what Rose has already achieved in such a short time, she's just an incredible player. And really, she's young, she's athletic, she's got the talent. The world is her oyster. PPA Australia now and MLP Australia now, and who knows where she can go.
And Brendan, also quite a good little pick-up here for Aaron in the sense that, yes, Rose's background might be from the Netherlands and she is technically an international, but she qualifies as an Australian player here.
Look, Rose honed her skills in pickleball in Australia, so we definitely call her one of our own here in Australia, without a doubt. Pickleball, she learned her pickleball on the Gold Coast here, and look, great acknowledgement for her going as number 2 pick. And as I said, she'll be a great addition to Aaron's team.
Certainly will be, and Melbourne Mavericks looking to rise up the standings after what they would say was perhaps a little bit of an underwhelming season 1, but season 2 looking to get off to a good start here. I think we're just about ready for our 3rd draft pick as well. Gentlemen, I'll put this to you. We've already had 2 outstanding talents go. Do we have any ideas who might be next?
Well, I had a feeling Rose would go in the top 3 and possibly Danny in the top 5. And so yeah, I'm not gonna predict who's going to be next.
Well, don't worry, you won't have to predict because Sanj Carter is back on the spot for us. Let's see who the Asia Aces are selecting as pick number 3.
With pick number 3 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Asia Aces select from Asia, Phuc Huynh.
Now, this is a pretty special selection here. I believe he's the first Vietnamese player that we've had for Major League Pickleball Australia, and with us heading to Vietnam in October, well, this one sort of ticks all the boxes early on, not to mention just an outstanding calibre of player. Gordon, you've got more of an insight here. Take us through him.
Well, as we said, he's an outstanding player from Vietnam, and he's part of an amazing cohort of players that are coming out of Vietnam. So I'm not surprised that who's just picked? It's the Asia Aces have gone straight to Asia, straight to the heart of Asia in Vietnam to get their next draft pick. So Phuc's a fantastic selection. He brings an athletic game, and he's got a pedigree from the PPA in the USA that brings a lot of experience. So I think this is a very clever pick for the Asia Aces, and it leaves an ace up their sleeve for later.
Very well done, Brendan Lee. Phuc Huynh, obviously this is a player of some pedigree. What specifically about his game is the outstanding aspect?
Look, not generally relating to his game in particular, but it's the unknown factor that I like here with Venice's selection. The unknown quantities, especially in this MLP scoring format, can be quite disruptive and get off to really good runs. And we saw it with Sea Surge in the first event in Sydney when people hadn't seen UV before, they hadn't seen Pay before. Maybe this is a tactic that Venice is actually going for here in selecting Phuc, who hasn't played pickleball in Australia before and being exposed to Australian players.
Well, it's now time to move on to Andy Horridge and the Western Vipers. They've got pick number 4.
With pick number 4 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Western Vipers select from Australia, Amelia Schmidt.
Oh, Brendan, look, this one's quite close to home for you in particular, I think. So I want to start with you here. Sydney Smash and Amelia Schmidt, those two go together like, I'm not going to say chalk and cheese, that's the opposite, but like an Oreo with the chocolate and the cream in the middle. They're always associated. And Amelia Schmidt, she's out of the Sydney Siders.
Look, they definitely do. Amelia has been on Sydney Smash for the last, for obviously season 1 with Mitch Hargraves, but dating back to 2023, obviously on the Sydney Smash there as well. But what we do know is Andy actually introduced Amelia to pickleball. So they actually go back to school when they actually went to school together. So I'm not surprised that Andy actually grabbed Amelia here. We also know that Amelia is one of Australia's best performing players on the PPA Tour in Australia here, but also in the States. She's had phenomenal results in the States in 2024 on the PPA Tour for an Australian travelling over there.
And Gordon, one of the youngest members as well of the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 1 cohort.
Oh, I rate Amelia Schmidt so highly. She's Australia's most quality female player. She's the most successful player in the PPA USA. She's currently ranked 39 in the women's singles over there. She's absolutely smashing it. She's made the round of 16 3 times in PPA events. It's a great pick by Andy. Very smart.
And look, I do feel for Mitch Hargreaves. I know those two have a very close connection as well, but he might have to dig a little bit deeper to find that next great piece of chemistry. But let's move across now for the Southern Stars. They've got pick number 5.
With pick number 5 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Southern Stars select from Australia, Michaela Hayat.
Well, there we go. 2 Aussies in a row going here, Gordon. Now, Michaela certainly does bring the, I like to say, the heat, if you will. And she's a big hitter at times too. So I think this is a very nice selection here.
Yeah, well, I hope she doesn't mind me calling her Mickey, but Mickey's a great player. She brings a great team chemistry. She's a fantastic player on court. She ticks all the boxes when it comes to pickleball, and especially teams pickleball. So she's a weapon on court and she's a weapon off court because she's just a dynamo. So, yeah, a great selection.
And Brendan, how important is that chemistry when we look at forming these teams who are not exactly struggling after Season 1, but thereabouts?
Well, do you know what? It's great to see Mickey selected. I think if you think back to Season 1, she went about number 7 or 8. George had selected Mickey first cab off the rank, and I thought at that particular time she might have actually gone later in the draft. But under George's guidance in Season 1, I've really seen Mickey come along in leaps and bounds. And we saw that particularly in Auckland, where between Sydney and Auckland, she actually developed a really good soft game. And her pickleball IQ has increased immensely under George's guidance. So George will be sad to see Mickey go. I think he would have wanted her when his first selection comes up. But a great pick by Jay. And I'm excited to see what the Southern Stars can do, but with Jay and Mickey.
Yeah, Southern Stars there with a quality selection, but let's now move back to Australian shores. It's time for Brisbane to have their selection.
With pick number 6 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Brisbane Breakers select the international player Kyle Yates.
There we go. We haven't seen too many international selections as of yet, just the one, I believe, up until now, but here is selection number 2. Gordon, what can you tell us about Kyle Yates?
Well, he's probably the most, you look at his Duper rating, it's 6.48. He's a true and tried performer on the Carvana PPA Tour in the USA. He's an absolute dynamo. And what can I say? He's almost pickleball royalty. So for Brisbane to pick up Kyle is an absolute bonanza for Brisbane. And a great pick for Lou, because I think they're going to combine quite well. And not only that, they've now laid a foundation that's a very strong foundation. They've got a very strong female player and arguably the best male player. So look out, Brisbane.
Yeah, Lou Shackey ready to shake things up, if you will, as well. Now, Kyle Yates here out of Denver, Colorado. So we know the Rocky Mountain men, they're a little bit rugged, they're a little bit athletic. Is that the kind of play style that Kyle has, though, as well?
Look, he's a jack of all trades. Kyle's pedigree in pickleball dates back longer than most. Like, this guy's been exposed to the sport for so many years now. Former US Open champion, former number 1 in the world. He'll bring knowledge and guidance to Australian shores and also fanfare around him. And I'm excited to see him come to Australia, showcase his pickleball talent and help develop the game here in Australia, which I'm sure he will.
Well, from Brisbane, we now head to Sydney. Sanj Carter is back with our next selection.
With a number 7 pick in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Sydney Smash select from Australia, Joey Wild.
Oh, there you heard it from Brendan Lee. The boys are back together. Bad boys, what you going to do when they come for you? And it's going to get a little bit wild here, Brendan. Take me through it. I love this.
Look, Mitch and Joey, they're like two peas in a pod. These guys have played doubles together on the PPA Tour and more broadly across Australia since Joey first got back to Australia in September last year from his time, obviously, in the US. This is a big selection by Mitch Hargraves. These two as a doubles combination are, without a doubt, right now, I'm going to call it, probably going to be the toughest pair in MLP Season 2.
Wow, that is a big call there. Now, not only that, though, but he was also terrific for the Eastern Rush in Season 1, Joey Wilden, and they finished quite highly on the overall standings, third overall. So we already know he's part of a successful team. He'll bring that as well to the Sydney Smash.
Oh, absolutely. Like Brendan says, Joey Wild goes wild. He's an absolute gun on court. He brings so much energy, so much dynamism, but he's also a very clever player. Brendan referred to pickleball IQ before. Joey has it in bucket loads and he just brings this presence. Just opponents seeing him on the other side of the court makes them shake in their boots. So Sydney Smash and, great choice.
Well, might be Smash by name, Smash by nature as well with those two combining. Let's now move across for pick number 8, the Southeast Asia Surge.
With pick number 8 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Southeast Asia Surge select from Asia, Yuchi Shea.
Yuchi Shea back yet again here for Season 2 of Major League Pickleball Australia. A pretty solid season in Season 1, Brendan.
Look, I just said the boys were back together, the girls are back together here as well because these two have played doubles together all over the world. We've seen them have really good success partnering up in PPA in Auckland, I believe. They took the W over there. And as I said, they've played pickleball together all over the world. Shea would probably have something to prove in MLP in Season 2 without a doubt. And the selection by Pay puts her in a really strong position. We know how strong Pay is as a player. We've seen her with great results in Season 1. So like what I said about Mitch and Joey as a doubles combination, as a men's doubles combination, them being really tough to beat, those two as a team, that's going to be tough to beat as a women's pair.
Yet another change here as well, Gordo, from the Asia Aces out to the Southeast Asia Surge. What do you make of that switch up? Oh,
Brendan's hit the nail on the head. Pei and Yuchi Shea together are an absolute dynamo team, and they've laid the foundation for some great male picks in the next 2 rounds. My mouth is watering at the possibilities for this team. So a great pick. And like Yuchi, she's not only a fantastic player on court, she's a darling off court. She's just such a really lovely person and a really great person to have on your team. So, yeah, great choice by Pei.
Is it almost a season too late in some ways that Pei would have wished she was there last year?
I think you're right. I think these two players have great chemistry together and a great understanding. I've seen them play in Vietnam earlier this year and also in other locations through Asia, and they're just to see them on court is just to watch them is phenomenal. Their understanding is just brilliant.
Well, we'll get to see them in plenty of action across Season 2 for Major League Pickleball Australia 2024, but it's time for our next selection.
With pick number 9 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Fast Fours select from Asia, Ting Shai Wei.
Ting Shai Wei has been selected. So a run of Asian selections here, Brendan, and obviously we have a little bit of a different way of doing things throughout Season 2 for Major League Pickleball Australia 2024. There's a little bit more flexibility in the selection table for the captains. What do you make of this one?
Look, this is very interesting. We go back to Season 1 and we know that George Wall selected an entire Australian schedule for his team. So this is the first time that George Wall has ventured out of Australian territory when selecting a player. But we all know George Wall. We know that how much research he would have done before actually making this first round selection. What's also notable is how many females are going right now in the round 1 picks here. I think this is 6 out of the 9 selections are now quality female players. So is that what captains are thinking is going to be the X factor?
And Gordon, is this almost a case of, well, I've lost Mickey, so I've got to bring in the next big female gun?
Well, it could well be. It could well be. And, you know, like Ting Shei Wei, she comes with high credentials. She's a sponsored athlete from Asia. And apparently, according to her Instagram, she likes playing moneyball pickleball. So she knows how to perform under pressure and when everything's on the line. So a great choice from George, I reckon.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think our captains are playing Moneyball at the moment. They've only been picking the top talent, that is for sure. We now move into our Queensland segment of the round 1 picks here.
With pick number 10 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Eastern Rush select, with their international selection, Arman Bhatia.
I really like this one, Gordo and Brendan. Arman Bhatia was outstanding for the Northern Crocs in Season 1, and so many clutch moments, whether it be in Dream Breakers or teaming up with Nielsen Chen. No matter what, we were figuring he would feature quite highly in this selection process.
Without a doubt. Did we think he was going to go before selection 10 though? Possibly, like realistically. Like this guy lit MLP Season 1 up without a doubt on the Northern Crocs. And we even saw him take out the singles at the event, at the PPA Tour event in Brisbane, the last event of Season 1. So look, Arman, he speaks for himself, you know, with what he's actually achieved. 2 titles with the Northern Crocs, PPA Tour, medals all over the world, a trip to the US Open where he had incredible results over there. And it's exciting to have this guy back in Australia. And I'm so keen to see what he can do in Season 2 alongside Katie Hart.
Gordon, Arman Bhatia. We talk about some of these top performers out of Season 1. Overall, he was ranked 6th, so a terrific selection, and as Brendan mentioned, maybe even a little bit later in the piece than we were thinking.
Well, and the thing, there's a whole host of Indian players that I love, but Arman's right up there. And I just think back to the event in Brisbane. He had a sore ankle, probably more than sore. He did something to it, but he still played on, and I think he won the singles and then did well in the doubles as well, and then played MLP. So, and they got to the semi-finals. So this guy is a tenacious player. He's a precocious talent, and it's a great choice. Fantastic. And, you know, like thinking how Arman is going to match up with Katie is just mind-blowing. Absolutely.
A lot of firepower.
Oh,
my goodness.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Look, just the ultimate competitor. 17 wins, just 8 losses for Season 1. So it's an outstanding record. And obviously, it's another part of that Northern Crocs blueprint. The architecture is starting to crumble.
Oh, I do feel for Summer, but, you know, we'll see. She's got the double take coming up very soon. So who knows what could happen.
Certainly does, and we're not too far away from the Northern Crocs' first selection. But before we head further north, up into the likes of Townsville and Cairns, we've got to go a little bit further south into the Gold Coast.
With pick number 11 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Gold Coast Glory select from Australia, Vishal Masand.
Vicious Vish back for another season here and ready to lay the smackdown with the paddle. Now, we know competitors. There's plenty of them, whether it be Danielle Townsend, whether it be Arman Bhatia, but Vishal Masand, he is certainly right up there with them.
Look, Vish has been increasing his pickleball footprint in Australia the last few years, steadily but surely. And did he really make himself feel present in Season 1 here of MLP? I definitely know his good friends from the Slam Jam podcast, Adam, Colin and Ty. Look, they're probably out there celebrating right now that their great mate Vish has been selected by none other than Sarah Burr on the Gold Coast. These two will have the opportunity to train together on the Gold Coast, which is also something we haven't really discussed yet, that ability to have that chemistry and create that. But he is one of the best lefties on the tour. And Sarah and Vish as a combination, if they do pair up, they'll be tough to beat.
Yeah, very tough indeed. And you mentioned there as well that beautiful left hand just swinging through and really causing a few problems for opponents. It still seems to be something, despite how many different sports we play, how many years, centuries, millennia has passed, there's something just awkward about taking on a lefty, isn't there?
Well, there is. And when you think about the Gold Coast Glory now, they've got 2 lefties, Sarah Burr and now Vish. So, you know, they've both got those luscious left-handers. And when you think about the potential matchups that they could have later on in the draft, you know, it really does tantalise what your brain as what could happen. And you know, the thing about Vish is he's such a performer. Every time he plays an event, he's usually on the podium. So he finds a way to win games, and when he's in a team, he finds a way for the team to win. So he's a great choice, absolutely.
It's almost a like-for-like replacement as well. You can still train with a partner on the Gold Coast. Danielle Townsend out, but Vish Massan in. And speaking of what's in, it's our final selection here for round 1 of the Major League Pickleball Australia draft for 2024 Season 2.
With pick number 12 in the Major League Pickleball Australia Season 2 draft, the Northern Crocs select an international selection, Harsh Mehta.
Well, Harsh Mehta is certainly one of the conversations we were having, gentlemen, to begin things here. Now, another Indian player. We saw a massive contribution from multiple Indian superstars in Season 1, whether it be Yuvi Ruya or also, of course, Arman Bhatia, who we've also discussed. But now, Harsh Mehta, I'll tell you what, I think he's going to be a little bit harsh with the opposition too.
Well, look, Harsh was definitely overlooked in Season 1. He wasn't really, unfortunately, on any captain's radars at that particular time. But I think the presence of Aman, Yuvi, Isha in Australia over the last 6 months has really increased the credential of Indian players in these captains' minds. So Harsh is a great selection. He's a lefty from India. And look, Summer's doing what Summer does. Like, let's be honest, Summer in Season 1 went out there and selected names, apart from Rose, that we didn't know. And she brought these international players to our shores, and look at the season that she had. So we keep saying that I'm surprised this person's still on the cards to be selected, but the depth is that strong that it's no longer a surprise, really.
Final selection here of round 1. Do you think Summer has got it right?
Oh, absolutely right. And like Brendan said, I'm surprised Harsh wasn't drafted last season. He's a star performer, and he's performed this year at the US Open with Arman Bhatia. We've already mentioned they came 5th at the US Open. That's unbelievably good. That's against world-class competition, and they came 5th. So that speaks volumes about Harsh, and he's just a tried and true performer, not only internationally but also in the US. So it's clever, and you know, like although Summer has lost a couple of good players, she's gained an absolute superstar in Harsh Mehta.
An equal replacement, without a doubt.
Here's a question to both of you just before we take a little break here in the draft proceedings for Season 2 of 2024 Major League Pickleball Australia. Is there any surprise here with, I suppose, first thing we heard, it's an international selection. Were we potentially thinking it was Nielsen Chen who was coming to link back up once more with Summer Delabona?
No, I think the element of surprise is good in this MLP format. The MLP format is fast. It's rally scoring, so every time you play a point, there's a point put on the board. If it's traditional scoring, maybe your more traditional teams may be the approach that you should take. But Summer, like not just Summer, but all these captains have now understood that. They've learnt that from Season 1, and they're making their picks accordingly. I thought it was really swayed towards female picks here. It was early in the first 6 or 8 picks. It's levelled right out. 6 male, 6 female picks here in round 1.
What do you think? Any surprises so far?
Yeah, I'm surprised there hasn't been a few more international picks. But then again, I'm not surprised because we've got some amazing talent in Asia and also Australia. And and when you look at the names that are in the draft, there's just so many fantastic names, and there's so many fantastic names to come. I'm staring at a couple here, and you know, like, wow, it just blows my mind.
Well, look, we'll let Gordo recalibrate things here before he gets an entire another cup full of drool before the aneurysm sets in. There's a whole lot still to get through. We've still got another 2 rounds to go. It's been an incredible first round of selections. A lot of talent still on the table, but I think we can define this first round as girl power. And we're about to find out if the boys have got anything to match it. We'll take a quick break here on the Major League Pickleball Australia draft for Season 2 2024. All the action in just a moment. Welcome back to Major League Pickleball Australia's 2024 Season 2 draft. A lot of action already for round one of the selections. 12 players have already been picked up. That now means there's only 24 more roster spots up for grabs, with the 12 captains, of course, already locked in. Now, I think the big thing to take away from round one here, I mentioned it just before we went to the break, it's girl power. There's been a lot of female selections. Brendan, you were the first to point it out. 6 of the first 9 going the way of the female side.
Yeah, look, with Denny, Rose, Amelia, Mickey, 4 of our Aussie favourites going early. It's not necessarily a surprise, but it is great to see. And it shows you how strong Australian pickleball talent is, especially on the girl side. And I think Gordon said it before, they are a hot commodity. And we saw that Rose and Summer, Sarah and Denny playing season 1. Like, they were 2 of the top teams on the MLP roster. So it's no surprise that strong female pairs are being selected early on here.
Also a few big names from the men's side as well. Armand Bhatia back into proceedings too, and perhaps not so much surprising selections, but also a bit more of an international flavour with the unknown, if you will, for Summer in particular.
Yeah, and sorry, just going back to Brendan's point as well, I think it's that local effect as well, and that ability to train together, which you mentioned before. I think that really, helps that team chemistry. But in terms of the men and Armand Bhatia and Harsh Mentha coming to Australia for season 2, it's spellbinding stuff, absolutely.
Wizardly selections as well as the spellbinding here for Gordon Watson. Now, let's take you through how round 2 is going to work. It's basically a complete reverse of round 1. Let's run through the selection order here. Of course, the first one is for the Northern Crocs. Summer Dalabona will get to double dip here. That will be followed by the Gold Coast Glory, then the Eastern Rush. So we begin with that Queensland contingent. Moving into the fast fours, the Southeast Asia Surge, the Sydney Smash get selection number 6. Brisbane Breakers in at pick 7. The Southern Stars with pick 8. The Western Vipers pick 9. Asia Aces for 10. Melbourne Mavericks pick 11. And now New Zealand Hustle. Well, they'll have the final selection here of round 2. Now, a couple of other notable things to talk about here. Our draft number 1 pick from season 1, Lucas Pascoe, yet to go as of yet.
Look, Lucas had a bit of an up and down season in season 1, and he's young. We've got to expect that. Lucas has so much flair, so much potential. He's recently been developing his skills in the US in a bit of a tour over there the last few weeks. So I think Lucas will be safe. He'll be up and coming in the draft. Look, just because he didn't go number 1 this time or even in the top 12 picks doesn't take anything away from who Lucas is and what he is as a player.
And look, he could very well still be selected with the remaining positions here. There's 24 more roster spots up for grabs. Another point of note here, we haven't seen too many of those big personality selections yet. Coco, Lakoko, Yuvi Ruya, for example. We'll see if they do fall here in round 2 selections. It begins, of course, with Summer Dalabona and the Northern Crocs.
With pick number 13, the Northern Crocs select from Australia, Andy Dikosavljevic.
Well, there we go, another new name here for season 2 to begin with. So once more, Summer Dalabona is pulling a few little surprises here, Brendan.
Look, Andy has really burst onto the scene here in Australia in 2024. She's had great results at Australian tournaments to date. And Summer knows Andy. They would go back to their tennis days where they've probably been exposed to each other and maybe even faced each other on the tennis court. I don't actually know. But Andy's a player that is improving very quickly. She's grasped the concept of pickleball and, she's running with it at the moment, and her results speak for themselves. We saw her also have a really great run at the PPA Brisbane event in the mixed doubles alongside Rob Sterling, where they actually took down some really credentialed Australian pairs. One of those pairs I actually think was Trav Vine and Summer Dalabona from memory.
Well, there we go. Maybe Summer has decided if you can't beat them, join them in every sense of the word here. But speaking of joining into things as well, there is the potential. I know it's a bit of a distance, but still another Queensland product here. Andy's from Brisbane. Could potentially get a bit of training under the belts. Does that maybe play a little bit of a factor into Summer's thinking here? Definitely.
And Summer's, again, chosen very well. Andy Dikosavljevic, she's one of my absolute favourites in terms of an up-and-coming talent in Australia. I think she's got so much potential. And hopefully there's another name that'll come out later that also has so much potential. But Andy is just She's really a really exciting prospect, and I think together with Summer, they're going to combine really well. And again, they lay the foundation. They've got the makings of a fantastic team already. Like Summer's, she's amazing.
It's a long time between drinks now for Summer, and she had to pick those two very wisely because she had picked 12 and 13, but it's all the way to pick 36 now for Summer, and that's going to be a fair way away. And we'll see who's still left on the board.
Certainly will be a long wait. We're now up to the overall selection of number 14 and the second pick for round 2 of the 2024 Season 2 draft.
With pick number 14, the Gold Coast Glory select their international selection, a Roman Estrella.
Gentlemen, I've got to say, I thought this would happen once I saw that he hadn't gone in round 1 and then availability here nice and early in the piece here. Round 2 here for Sarah Burr. After an outstanding season, one of the overall top performers on both an individual capacity but also for sportsmanship and chemistry in the team. It had to be Roman, didn't it?
It had to be Roman. I mean, in some ways, I would imagine Sarah's a little bit shell-shocked that Roman's still left. And for her to be able to get that band back together, like you say, I think she's going to take a lot of peace of mind knowing that Roman's now part of the team again for Season 2, because Sarah combines well with Roman and they have great chemistry on court. So who takes that 4th spot on the Gold Coast Glory is going to be interesting. But I think it's a great choice by Sarah.
And Brendan, one of the more creative players from Season 1, whether it be the lob or the outstretched full dive, Roman seems to have the full gamut of skills.
Look, you're exactly right there. Roman brought to our shores shots that players hadn't seen before in pickleball in Australia. And as Gordon highlighted, Roman and Sarah, they had great chemistry in Season 1. And I know Sarah wanted that chemistry. Chemistry was important for her. She's got someone like Vish, who obviously she's very comfortable with. She can train with regularly. And now she's got Roman, who she played Season 1 with. What I am keen to see is, yes, Roman had a great Season 1. He was MVP. Can the Australian players and the rest of the MLP players here actually clue on to what he's doing? And let's see what Roman brings in 2024 and see if he has any other tricks up his sleeve.
Interesting here as well. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe so far the Gold Coast Glory is the only side now, certainly with the 3 picks, but across the 2 to have complete recognition of players who are already there in Season 1 now continuing for Season 2. So, there's certainly a little bit of a case of we know what to expect already a little bit from the Gold Coast Glory. But let's jump in here to selection overall number 15.
With pick number 15, the Eastern Rush select from Asia, Jasmine Almaguer.
More new names here, and it's got a chuckle out of Gordon as well. So naturally, I've got to start where the noise is coming from. Gordon, what is so funny?
I just love Jasmine, but it's funny that she's drafted straight after Roman because obviously, they're not only partners on court, they're partners off court. So I guess it just tickles my fancy. But Jasmine brings so much punch, and I remember looking back to the Brisbane event last year, watching Jasmine play singles, and she was an absolute dynamo. And I think singles this season, in Season 2, is going to be more important than Season 1 because Season 2 is going to be a lot tighter than Season 1, and we could well see a lot more Dream Breakers where singles action will be more important. And Jasmine answers that question.
Another first-timer here for Major League Pickleball in Australia. Brendan, any surprises with the selection?
Yeah, look, Jasmine, travelling with Roman obviously in Season 1, had the opportunity to, I guess, expose her pickleball skills to the community through the PPA events. And I believe she had a great run in the Auckland event where she may have even made the bronze medal match, or she went deep in the draw regardless. So she resonated with our community really well. I know her sense of humour and her sense of camaraderie and everything, and her sense of competitiveness as well, that resonated really well with the group. So Katie Hart was obviously looking for a left-hand side player. I presume Katie Hart's going to play right. So she's probably looking for a left-hand side female that packs plenty of punch. And I think Jasmine's going to do that. Obviously, great results in singles. And it's really important to build a solid Dream Breaker team. And we know singles pedigree builds those strong Dream Breaker teams. We saw that especially with Summer. You look at Katie's team right now, Katie, Aman, Jasmine. she's not just building a robust team, but she's building a team built for dream breakers, in my opinion. And no doubt, Katie Hart's mentor, Mike Newland, coach of the Eastern Russian Season 1, has something a bit to do with how this drafting is working for Katie.
Well, that is our Queensland contingent here for round 2 selections. Let's now move to the fast fours. They've got overall pick number 16.
With pick number 16, the fast fours select from Australia, Lucas Pascoe.
Well, there he is. We were wondering when it would happen. Our draft pick number 1 from season 1, Lucas Pascoe, back for season 2 here. Brendan, you mentioned it was a bit of an up and down season for Lucas. He's still very young, but there's just so much potential in him.
100%. And look, that's why he did go number 1 in season 1, because we know Lucas's potential. So does George. Not surprising. George also selected a young Ollie Gray in season 1. So George knows he can mentor these players and get the best out of them. I think George will play that figure for Lucas as well, and he will help guide Lucas through some tough situations on the court. And I think as a pair, equally to Mitch and Joey, this pair is going to be dangerous on the court, and I'm very keen to see what Lucas has learnt in the US over the last few weeks and what he is going to bring to season 2. I know, talking to Dad Chris earlier on this week, that Lucas is full of energy and full of vibrance for pickleball after being in the US and seeing how big it is in the US and actually, I guess, understanding what he can achieve.
And Gordon, shifting from the Southeast Asia surge back to an Aussie team here, do you feel that actually adds a little bit of comfort for Lucas?
I think it does. And again, it's a smart choice by George Wall. Lucas is a precocious talent and he's so young. I like to refer to him as the Roger Federer of pickleball because he's such a gentleman on court and he's such a gentleman off court, and he's just so young. And his pickleball IQ is developing, and he's been overseas, like Brendan said. He's been training with Hall of Famer Wes Gabrielson, who was playing with the Asia Aces in season 1. So he's going to come back revitalised and absolutely raring to go, and George and the Fast Fours will be so glad to have him on their team.
Well, the Southeast Asia surge don't have him anymore. That's the big story there from season 1, but they do now have a selection. So let's head back over to Sanj Carter, our league commissioner.
With pick number 17, the Southeast Asia surge select their international selection of Marcel Chan.
Another international selection here. We've seen quite a few of them go already. Not all the slots have been completed as of yet, but Marcel Chan on the board here, Gordon.
Yeah, and Marcel, well, speaking of star performance, he is a star performer. He's currently ranked 37 in the men's singles in the Cabana PPA in the USA. Oh, that's a mouthful. And he's also a credentialed doubles player in the USA as well. So he comes with a fantastic pedigree, and to be drafted into our MLP Australia is just a fantastic result. It's great for Australian pickleball. It's great for pickleball in Asia. This is a great draft selection.
And Brendan, I'll tell you what, we're off to 2 resort locations for our next 2 fixtures. This is a man who knows all about being able to relax along with playing a bit of pickleball from Hawaii.
Yes, well, look, Pay's constructing a team here not too different to what she actually put together in season 1. Quite a few unknowns for the Australian shores. And look, Pay has been travelling internationally as well. She's spent a lot of time in the US, I believe, this year. I think she might have actually gone to the US Open as well. And I wonder if there was some connections formed over there. Maybe some, hey, do you want to come to, Australia and play Major League Pickleball in season 2? And that wouldn't surprise me at all. Look, very excited to bring these international players to our shores here in Australia. And look, Pay had a really great event 1 in Sydney and in Auckland. The Southeast Asia surge performed really well. And it's these X factors, these international players that can be the difference in where teams finish.
Absolutely. And now it's time to find out our next selection here. We head to Sydney.
With pick number 18, the Sydney Smash select from Australia, Selena Turia.
Selena on the board here. Selena Turia out of Sydney herself, so certainly no stranger to the harbour city. And I think potentially Mitch Hargrave's thinking, well, look, I've lost out on Amelia Schmidt. I need another Sydney sider alongside of me. And this is a very good selection of that.
Well, a very strategic selection by Mitch Hargraves, and I think there's a bit of a connection here between Rose van Rijk, who's also in the MLP Australia, as they were tennis buddies, I think, at some point. But Selena is also a highly credentialed college tennis player from the USA, so she's got pedigree at performing at the highest level, and she's also got the runs on the board in terms of pickleball results as well. And, you know, with a 5.65 DUPA rating, she's a highly credentialed player. So it's smart selecting from Mitch Hargraves.
Now, obviously, we know that she's been touring around and doing some great things on the international stage, but is there still a little bit of a case of the unknown here with Selena as well?
Well, Selena is a Sydney local, and it's good to see Mitch actually draft someone from Sydney that it can actually build some chemistry with and actually build some rapport with and train together regularly. So we haven't seen too much of Selena in Australian pickleball yet, but what we did see earlier in the year at the PPA Sydney event, she actually played the Futures event there, I believe, and she had some really good results there in the singles, doubles and mixed doubles events. So as Gordon said, I believe she might have been a University of Nevada teammate of Rose van Rijk, so she comes highly recommended by Rose. Not surprised to see Selena go this, and this is still relatively early in the draw. I don't even think we're halfway through yet. So she is a player like what we said about Andy before. She's a player on the rise and a player that a lot of these MLP players haven't actually seen before on the court. So once again, that unknown in this MLP format can disrupt players and can put points on the board fast in this MLP scoring format. And Mitch is constructing a really nice team here.
I love that you mentioned the futures work from Selena as well. Of course, that's a great initiative that's only come in recently here for Major League Pickleball Australia, just to really help progress that next stage of pickleball players in the country.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like the Futures Tour that they have ran in the first 3 events this year has also had such depth in it, but generally new depth in it, that exposing players to the sport that we haven't necessarily seen before. And look, these players are now getting an opportunity, and here's Selena playing MLP Season 2.
Absolutely.
Well, Brendan, you mentioned as well, we're not technically even halfway. I can tell you now, we've now officially crossed over into that territory. So we're about to see pick number 25 here, I believe, overall in terms of players, in terms of the 48-person roster here. So, of course, the 12 captains and then also the selections popping in. It is, of course, time to head a little bit further north than Sydney. We're about to head to the Brisbane Breakers. And obviously, Lou Shackey is already building quite a nice team that we're seeing here. Lou herself, one of the ultimate competitors in the sport of pickleball, and a real entrepreneur away from the court too. When we think about Lou's selections, they usually come from a very higher place, probably beyond my pay grade as well.
Well, when it comes to Lou Shackey, she's the ultimate pickleballer. She lives, breathes and eats pickleball. She is just the ultimate competitor and performer. So, you know, like you say, she's a credentialed businesswoman. She's a fighter on court. She's a great team player. And she's constructing a great team. I mean, she's got Kyle Hunter, she's got herself. Who's going to be her next pick? You know, it's tantalising.
Look, all those accolades. Tantalising is a good word here, because apparently she also eats pickleballs too. So she literally has the iron stomach. Let's see if she has the guts to make a good selection here, though.
With pick number 19, the Brisbane Breakers select from Australia, Nicola Schumann.
Well, she was a shoo-in, according to Gordon Watson here, and certainly it has happened for Nicola Schumann. Gordon, you seem very pleased about this selection.
Oh, I'm so stoked for Nicola Schumann. I've only met Nicola Schumann in the last couple of months, and just in that short time, just her progression in that short time says to me she's going to be an absolute star of the future. She could well be Australia's Anna Lee Waters, I think, and this is such a great pick by Ludovica. I think they're going to combine really well, and Nicola's that type of player that whoever plays with her she's going to combine well with. She's a great team player, and the thing that I love also about Nicola, she's always having fun on court. She's got this infectious smile that's just, you know, just uplifting. So yeah, fantastic selection. So excited for Nicola.
Gordon, you're 100% right. When you're enjoying your sport, no matter what it is, whether it be pickleball or anything else, you tend to get to your absolute optimal performance.
And she's only 16. Crazy.
Well, that's why we're talking about Annalie Waters here, of course, as well. The other thing to mention too, Brendan, is Brisbane, once more. Lou, looking locally and really building a formidable team.
Yeah, without a doubt. Once again, ability to train together, that might definitely help Lou. Last season, she had the Vine brothers on her team, but she had the international pick in Isha Lakhani, where she couldn't actually do much with Isha on the court. What'll be great to see with Lou can take a real mentor role here, as can Kyle with Nicola. Like, we know she's got so far that she can go on her pickleball journey, and as Gordon said, the world is her oyster, and let's see where she takes it. She's had some really good results in the last few weeks alone, and I think this is what's helped Nicola get across the line here. We thought she may have going halfway through the draw is probably not where I saw her going, but it's really exciting for Nicola, and what an opportunity. The youngest player to play MLP in Australia. She now takes that honour away from Lucas Pascoe, Wow. So I think she's in a really good position. She's got a really good captain, and then she's got Kyle Yates on the team that will help develop Nicola into a formidable player. She's already formidable, but even more of a formidable player moving forward. I'm excited to see what she can do.
One thing you have made mention of with some of these young players coming into Major League Pickleball Australia is the consistency issues. It's obviously too early for us to make any assessment. She hasn't taken to the court yet with the Brisbane Breakers, but what would be your key advice to a player as young as Nicola is?
Look, every day is going to be different for these young players, but from what I've seen from Nicola, she's relatively level-headed, and generally girls are a little bit more level-headed than boys at that age as well. So, look, I think take it in a stride, really listen to Lou as her captain and really listen to Kyle. Like, Kyle has he's like the Wes Gabrielson of season one. Like, his pickleball IQ, his experience in pickleball, learn a lot from him and absorb as much information as you can, and you're going to come out the other side of this so much as a better player, without a doubt.
Well, it's time to head across the ditch for our next selection. Sanj Carter is back on the panel.
With pick number 20, the Southern Stars select from Asia, Jo Yuko.
Another new name here for Season 2 of Major League Pickleball Australia 2024. And Brendan, once more from Asia here.
Yes, look, this brings back some memories, funnily enough. So finally, Jay, Shay, Jo Yuko and I and a few others travelled to India back in 2022. So Jo Yuko wasn't in our Season 1 draft. Her name's popped into Season 2. Like what Jay did in Season 1, he grabbed Shay straight away. Now he's grabbing Jo Yuko, who goes by the name Tadpole, actually. Yeah. So Tadpole has actually shown her pickleball credentials over Asia. Well, Asia more so than Australia. I don't believe we've seen it in Australia yet, but Jay definitely knows a lot about Tadpole. I'm excited to see what she can bring to the Australian tour. Like Shay, she definitely deserves this opportunity on the Southern Stars like Shay had in Season 1. So excited to see how Mickey and Jo Yuko combine and what Jay can deliver as a captain with that team.
And Gordon, can Jo gravitate and elevate, continue to improve from the Tadpole into the Frog here throughout Season 2?
What's the name for a really fantastic frog? I don't know, because Fredo. Because Tadpole is an absolute performer. I first met Tadpole 2 years ago. She was part of our team at the Asia Open, and we went on to win gold in the teams event. So she performs under pressure. She performs in the teams. She's a fantastic player. She combines well with female or male, and she just brings a nice level presence to the team. So I think it's a really clever choice.
Well, there's 36 picks in total here for the round 2, round 3, round 1 combination of Season 2 of the Major League Pickleball Australia draft for 2024. We're up to selection number 21.
With pick 21, the Western Vipers make an international selection of Shelby Bates.
Shelby Bates into the team here for the Western Vipers. Now, there were some struggles, of course, for the Vipers throughout Season 1. They never really got going. It was, if anything, maybe some middle results along with some real hard times, especially in Sydney, it seemed, as well, Gordon.
Yeah, I think the Western Vipers were one of those teams that sort of made incremental improvements as the season went on. And I think in season 2, they've got a real opportunity to set the league alight. And with a choice like Shelby Bates, they've got a really good opportunity now. The thing I love about Shelby is, and I spoke to her a little bit earlier today, she really drives, she gets really driven by results and people not believing in her. So oddly enough, one of the people that didn't believe in her was Ben Johns, who said she couldn't play pickleball. And now look at her. She's played for the DC in the Major League in the US. She's played for the New Jersey Fives and a host of other fantastic results on the AAP Tour. So this is a great selection for the Western Vipers. Andy, yeah, hats off to Andy.
Brendan, another American into the action here as well. Last year, there wasn't too many floating about. Roman, the likes of Wes Gabrielson, for example, but seems to be stockpiling a fair bit throughout.
Look, yeah, without a doubt, I think by Wes and Roman coming over here in season 1, we've seen them share their experiences and their journeys, not just on social media, but when they've gone back to the States as well, resulting in a larger international contingency, and those especially from the US obviously put their hat in the ring for the draft this year. So Shelby is one of the most experienced players in the draft. As Gordon said, she's had great results in the US, and a team like Amelia and Shelby, I'm not sure if Amelia had the opportunity to meet Shelby when she was in the US, but potentially there was some chemistry or some training or something like that happen over there. But look, Andy's drafting a really good team and a really different team to his approach in season 1. So that's along the Amelia and Shelby as a team. There's some really strong doubles combinations forming right now.
Oh yeah.
Interesting as well to see here for Andy. He's left his personal men's doubles partner to the very last. What do you make of that particular decision, Gordon?
Well, I think Andy wanted to lock away some really strong female talent, and I think he's done that in Shelby and Amelia. They're both star performers in the PPA in the USA, and now, and let's face it, there's still a host of great names in the male column on the draft list. So I think Andy's really well placed here.
A lot of names still to get through, of course. Not too many selections left, though, for round 2 here of the draft. So, of course, we do have the Asia Aces still to come, the Melbourne Mavericks and New Zealand Hustle. They'll get to do a double bite of the cherry, so to speak, with also having the first selection of round 3. I'm going to throw this as an open one to both of you here. We'll start with Brendan. So many big names from season 1 still yet to be selected. Are you anticipating some of them to come into the fold, or do we think it's going to be more new faces?
Look, there's so many names that haven't been selected yet that were in season 1, and with only 15 spots remaining, some people are going to miss out. But unfortunately, this is the nature of the beast, and this is just how strong pickleball in Australia is getting, and how MLP is actually attracting some big international names. It's going to be sad maybe not to see some of those. I know Gordon said he's formed so many friends over season 1, he's going to miss so many of them, but guess what, Gordon, you're going to make new ones.
Certainly is the case. And look, we're hoping that you're enjoying everything here, all the action on Major League Pickleball Australia draft for season 2. We've still got a few selections, though, to get through for round 2. Let's throw it back to Sanj Carter.
With pick number 22, the Asia Aces select their international selection of Jamie Haas.
Another new name here for season 2. So, Brendan, I was just talking to you about whether we'd see some more familiar faces, some new ones here. Both of you were discussing, Brendan and Gordon, that Haas name. Would it happen? Will it happen? And I believe the end consensus was quite likely.
Well, yes, she's another one of those highly credentialed international players from the US that's been honing her skills on the PPA Tour in the US, having particular good results on the singles court more so than the doubles court. But what an opportunity for Jamie to come to Australia, play MLP, play with such a phenomenal field that we're seeing take shape in front of us right now. I don't know a great deal about Jamie, but what I did see was she was a lefty player that definitely plays a bit more of a tennis-style format, so maybe there's that background there as well. But a very interesting team that Venice is putting together here. We know she had Wes Gabrielson on her team last year, so another one of an American player that obviously has had phenomenal results in America. So a different setup to how she's constructing a team in season 2.
And Gordon, Jamie and Bryson, the two Haasers in the draft here, did we think one was going to go before the other? Are they both going to come through?
Well, who knows? I mean, quite, easily both of them could come through, but Jamie is an absolute gun. She's rated 19 in singles at the moment on the Kavana PPA Tour in the USA. So that in itself says she's a star performer. This girl can play pickleball, and she's also 38 in women's doubles. So this is a star performer. It's a great selection for the Asia Aces, and I think I don't know if Venice has quite pulled that ace from her sleeve yet, but she's well on the way.
Well, let's see if someone else can pull an ace, and that is Aaron Blitz. He's got the second last selection of round 2.
With pick number 23, the Melbourne Mavericks select their international selection, Wesley Gabrielson.
Well, there it is. Speak of the devil. We just discussed him, and Wes Gabrielson hasn't had to wait long. The American is back here once again. I think Wes is another one of those real personality players. You can't help but warm to him.
Look, he was fantastic to have Wes here in season 1. Like, he just added to the Australian pickleball scene so much in not just what he did on the court, but off the court as well. And yes, we've discussed his accolades in pickleball, Hall of Famer. He also played good pickle in season 1, taking out the PPA men's doubles event in Brisbane and getting 3rd in the event in Auckland. So he showed us that he can definitely still play pickleball and play it very well. Aaron's putting together a really good-looking team here right now. And I said about Rose, one of the nicest people on tour. Aaron, a man in the community. Wes Gabrielson right there with that. Aaron's putting together a team that he feels comfortable with and that he can really resonate with well.
And Gordon, it's a wonderful mix of youth and experience, but also top performers still. We know Rose was basically the top performer overall for Major League Pickleball Australia Season 1. Wes, some outstanding singular results in the solos category and also for doubles for that matter as well. But it's a formidable team here, and it is certainly one that I think chemistry-wise could really gel.
Absolutely. I've got one word, sensational, that Wes Gabrielson's coming back to Australia. He is, well, like Brendan said, he's a Hall of Famer, and he just gives so much to the game. Like, he doesn't just play MLP Australia at such a high level. He gives back to the community whilst he's here. Everybody loves Wes. He's just a champion on and off court. There's nothing more you can say about him. He's just a legend.
Yeah, Wes, of course, another one of our American contingent in there. There's been a fair few Yanks that have come across here to Australian soil. And, of course, there's only one more selection left here for round 2. That means we've got to head back over the ditch once again and close out this section with the New Zealand hustle.
With pick number 24, the New Zealand Hustle select their international selection of Michelle Esquivel.
I'm losing track here, gentlemen. There's so many new names here. It's tough to keep up with. It's almost a brand new competition here for Season 2 of Major League Pickleball Australia. Here we are, Michelle Esquivel in there, and I'll tell you what, we're going to let ladies do the honours here. Ladies first. Our commissioner is on the spot. I want to get the word from the quote-unquote horse's mouth here. Sanj Carter, thanks for joining us. Michelle, tell us all about this terrific talent.
Look, Michelle is an absolute firecracker, as you said, a ball of energy. But when we talk about pickleball experience, she is right at the top of the pile. She's not only a great player, played a lot on the PPA Tour in the US, but a great coach too. She's played MLP in the US, so she knows the flavour, she knows the sport. So a great selection here from Matt Carter. She's just going to bring a great flavour to the team, but a lot of knowledge.
Gordon, how's this team shaping now with one more selection to come, and it'll be the next one too?
Well, I'm super excited that Michelle Esquivel is coming to Australia. I had the pleasure of meeting Michelle only a few weeks ago in Sacramento, and she just blew my socks off. She's a great player. She's a great performer. She's a commentator. She just lives, breathes and eats pickleball. And, yeah, I'm just so excited she's coming to this part of the world.
Brendan, Michelle, another one of these storied players that's had quite a history with the sport. What do you make of the selection?
Yeah, without a doubt. Majority of the international picks for most of these teams are now off the board, and Michelle's another great international pickup by Matt Carter. Really looking forward to what she can bring with Denny. Denny's been playing pickleball for about 18 months now, so still not long in the scheme of things. And once again, I think Michelle can play that mentor role and really help Denny develop on her journey as well. So once again, another great pickleball icon to actually have in MLP, but in Australia more broadly, and really looking forward to welcoming Michelle to our shores.
Well, to close out round 2 here, we've got to, of course, finish with the boss herself, our League Commissioner for Major League Pickleball Australia. Sanj, what have you made of the selections from our various captains thus far?
Look, it's been fantastic, and I love the flavour of, as we said, the international experience, but the new talent that's coming through. There's some of these young females that are coming through on the board, these names that we've seen at sort of state championships, national championships, and now they're getting an opportunity on the Major League. So it's just showing the depth, the talent, and the hard work is paying off. So, look, big props to the captains that they've taken that punt and really picked some fresh talent, but added a bit of experience on top.
Still some iconic names also floating around in the overall draft. We'll see if they do get picked up in round 3. We'll take a quick break here for Major League Pickleball Australia's Season 2 draft. Hope you're enjoying all the action. Welcome back here, live from Melbourne for the Major League Pickleball Australia 2024 Season 2 draft. 2 of the 3 rounds of draft picks are done and dusted. There's only 12 roster spots remaining. There's a lot of head scratches still to get through here for our captains. They're really going to have to be fine-tuning their squads, and we hope you're enjoying all the coverage so far. But if you want to keep across everything that is happening throughout Season 2 of Major League Pickleball Australia 2024, then make sure to follow us on Instagram. You can scan those QR codes on the screen right now and keep up to date with pro pickleball in Australia, New Zealand and Asia. I've got the gents here on the desk with me, 2 of the big names in pickleball in the country. Gordon Watson is quite literally sweating at the moment, such is the tension around these final selections. Brendan Lee also, you look very tense at the moment too. Oof. But let's recap things a little bit. So obviously there's been some big selections, a lot of new faces joining Major League Pickleball Australia for Season 2 in 2024. We'll go round by round in terms of the selection. So let's get a closer look here at who went in round 1. Brendan, take us through it.
Yes, so round one, Matt Carter started off with Danielle Townsend. No surprise at all there. I think we're very excited for Denny. Her pedigree is so strong. Then we went into Rose Van Reek with partnering Aaron Blitz, for Quinn with Venice, Amelia Schmid with Andy, Mickey with Jay, Kyle Yates going to Lou Shackey, a really strong international selection there for Lou. The boys are back together, Mitch and Joey. The girls are back together, Pay and Shay, George and Ting, Katie and Arman, Sarah and Vish, and finish closing it out with Harsh being selected by Summer.
And of course, only 12 more spots up for grabs. We know that just about the entirety of those potential 180 or so, they're sitting there. They're waiting for the call-up. It might not come, though, Gordon. What advice do you have to those players who are still out there maybe chewing off the fingernails at the moment, or maybe doing what you're doing with the big sweats?
Oh, look, my palms are literally sweating, and it's not exactly hot here in the studio. It's really tense. It really is tense. And like you say, there's only 12 spots left, and there's some immense talent that is still on the board. And it's a bit like, you know, changing schools. You know, when you're younger, if you ever change schools, it's like going from one school to another and leaving your friends behind, and then going to another school and having to make new ones. But it's just so nerve-wracking. It's tense.
Look, I've had a look as well. It's not just the palms being sweaty, the knees are weak as well, and the arms are heavy. So Slim Shady's in the building here. But Brendan, just before we get stuck into round 3 selections here, we've got to go through round 2 as well. There was a few interesting selections there, all terrific ones, but some surprises.
Look, Summer backed it up with Andy. I think that's really good chemistry between Summer and Andy. I think they know each other, the ability to train together. Then Sarah, where she knows, Roman. You know, no surprise there. She's very comfortable with Roman. Katie went Jasmine. George with Lucas, with the youngster, the #1 pick from season 1. Pay with Marcel. Mitch going local with Sydney sider Selena. Lou Shackey with Nicola. Jay with Tadpole, otherwise known as Joe Yuko. Andy going with Shelby, American powerhouse. And Venice with Jamie, Aaron with Wes, and Matt taking Michelle Esquivel. To have that pickleball knowledge on our shores is going to be fantastic.
Oh. So just to recap that as well, from round 2, almost the entirety of the selections, new faces for season 2. So a lot of change, obviously, from the first season of Major League Pickleball in Australia. But it's time now to find out our final 12 places. Let's throw it across to Sanj Carter for the first selection of round 3.
With pick number 25, the New Zealand Hustle select Robert Sterling.
New Zealand Hustle side is complete, and it's a sterling choice, if you will. Robert is joining Matt Carter's men. Gordon, it's a pretty formidable squad.
Wow. Wow is all I can say. Rob Sterling, he has just literally burst onto the scene in like the last 6 months. And his journey has been quite incredible. To watch him play, you would think he's been playing for at least a couple of years, but he's just a precocious talent. He has picked up and just led with it, and he's been drafted into the MLP Australia. Unbelievable.
And a lot of Brisbane products going in this particular season, far more than we saw in season 1, Brendan.
It's really good to see. I'm excited. This Australian talent that's coming through, and Robert is one of those players. Here behind the desk, we do have a bit of chat before the draft starts, and Robert was my dark horse, so it's great to see him be selected. I thought he might have gone in round 3, and here we are. So, as Gordon said, he's relatively new to the space here, but he's come along in leaps and bounds in such a short time. He had that great run with Andy. As we said before, Andy and Robert had the great run at PPA Brisbane in the mixed doubles, taking out some powerhouse teams. Would I be surprised that he's on the New Zealand Hustle team? I didn't see that selection coming. I thought maybe an Australian captain may have taken him, but it's great to see him go, and I look forward to watching him flourish in season 2.
What do you think made Matt decide to go that way?
Look, I think we need to pick Matt's brain on that one. Look, Matt's been playing the game for so long. He understands the game really well. He would see something in Robert that he likes, with obviously what Robert brings to that team, the chemistry with Denny, with Michelle. So these captains are constructing that team. So Matt's seen something. Let's hope he's right, because New Zealand Hustle, they're going to want to get off the bottom of that ladder.
Well, let's see what the Melbourne Mavericks and Aaron Blitz can see. They now have selection number 26.
With pick number 26, the Melbourne Mavericks select from Australia, Talia Saunders.
Returning from season 1 here, Talia Saunders. It's been a bit of a run of new talent popping in for season 2, but we're back to the old firm here, Gord.
Yeah, and Talia is one of those tried and tested players that just brings just a tenacious grunt to the game. She's a great team player. She's so fiery on court, and she brought a lot of firepower to the fast fours last season. And I think for the Mavs to pick up Talia is a great selection. I think Aaron would have recognised just how much she brings to the table. But again, going to that local knowledge and being able to train locally with the players in your hood, this is a great selection.
Feeling very gangster sitting next to you all of a sudden, back in the hood here.
Eminem a few minutes ago too, didn't we?
He's continued on with the form. But look, you mentioned there Talia Saunders doing some great work for fast fours. There was a good combination with her and Mickey Hyatt moving forward. How do you think the new combinations sit here for Melbourne Mavericks based on her efforts in season 1?
Yeah, look, I think Talia would have been a little bit nervous. You know, she's been one of Australia's best performing players. And as we said before, these players are probably starting to get some butterflies in their bellies and some nerves of, oh, am I going to get selected? It's great to see Talia selected. She's been one of Australia's best performing players for a number of years now, and she's just so consistent. She also brings the presence of Adelaide, you know, a South Australia representative, and I'm sure there's people from South Australia tuning in this evening, and I'm sure they're over the moon that they've now got a representative in Talia Saunders. She's very deserving. She'll partner with Rose Van Reek. You know, that is a very good team. Obviously, the power and everything that Rose brings to the court, and then the stability of Talia Saunders playing the right. You add in Wes Gabrielson and you add in Aaron Blitz, you know, like that is a well-constructed team.
And you mentioned there some viewers tuning in from South Australia, potentially Adelaide as well. Hope you are also making sure you're very warm. You had your coldest morning in 18 years yesterday, but I'll tell you what, the action is all heating up here for round 3 of the draft selections. Let's now throw it over once more to Sanj Carter.
With pick number 27, the Asia Aces select from Asia, Nielsen Chen.
Well, he's back in. I thought he had far too good of a season in season 1 to not be picked up somewhere, and it's actually probably a fitting destination here as well for Nielsen Chen. He was very good for the Northern Crocs, but now perhaps a little bit of a new lease of life, so to speak.
Absolutely, and Nielsen, who was an MVP from the first event in Sydney, he's a tried and true performer. He's won medals practically in every country through Asia. He's such a talent. And I guess most recently, he's known for that viral Ernie block that he did. He literally blew up the internet because of this shot that he played at a recent event in Vietnam. So he's going to be well at home in Asia, absolutely.
Certainly will be. Now, one thing we sort of looked at here when we were taking a look at some of the stats coming into tonight was the performance on an individual level of these players. Now, Nielsen was around about the midway point throughout season 1, but I think what we really love to see from him is in those big moments, he does tend to rise. You think of the Dream Breakers for some of those big matches for the Northern Crocs. He was in the thick of it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think he may have even been MVP at one of the season 1 events as well. Maybe even in Sydney, he took home the MVP title, and deservingly so. I think we remember back to those Dream Breakers in Sydney where he was the MVP on that court. He performed so well. And I think he also took a PPA bronze medal in singles, and that shows just how valuable Nielsen can be if the Asia Aces can get it to a Dream Breaker. He may be the X factor that can actually get Venice through to some playoff matches in season 2 and the Asia Aces.
Well, we are now into single digits in terms of remaining roster spots. Just 9 more positions remaining out of potentially 36. 48 players in total taking part in season 2 of the Major League Pickleball Australia competition for 2024. Let's find out who the 9th last selection is.
With pick number 28, the Western Vipers select from Australia, Ryan Henry.
Great choice.
Another new name here for season 2. Ryan Henry, certainly not one that we are not exactly acquainted with, so to speak. We know him quite well here, Ryan Henry, and I know you certainly do, Gordon.
Well, Brendan in particular knows a lot more about Ryan, but Ryan is a tried and true performer again. He's the current Australian Open singles champion in pickleball. So he is ferocious on court, and he played last year in the 2023 original MLP Australia series, and the Sydney Smash won. So he's already got a taste for MLP Australia, and now he's back. Look out.
Gets an official taste this time around as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's great to see Ryan drafted. I actually thought he may have gone a little bit higher than this. And funnily enough, I spoke to Ryan yesterday, and he is having a surfing holiday in Bali at the moment. So I hope he's tuning into the draft here this evening. But he'll be stoked with his team. You know, he's got Andy Horridge, Amelia Schmidt, Shelby Bates, and Ryan, obviously, in that fourth spot. That is a strong team. There was some doubt coming into the draft about Ryan and his fitness. He has had a right wrist injury for a number of months now. But what I have heard on the court is he's been playing left-handed, would you believe? And he's actually been beating some of those Sydney-siders, Mitch Hargraves, Alex Fairbanks, playing left-handed. That's how good this guy is as just an all-round athlete. So very excited to see Ryan here in season 2.
It's a nice mix of youth and experience too as well, developing here for the Western Vipers. Andy himself still quite young. Ryan in there adding some much-needed guidance, a little bit of expertise. Do you like how that's all coming together for the Western Vipers?
Yeah, look, Andy and Amelia, young heads. You know, it's great to have Ryan, who has such credentialed tennis background as well. We know he's travelled around the world playing junior Grand Slams, Wimbledon, Australia Open and the like. So and he's also one of Australia's leading tennis coaches still to this date. So he's going to bring a level head and some real good guidance and experience to this team.
We are down to the final 8 here. Those spots are running up very, very quickly, and it's now time to head across the ditch once more for the Southern Stars.
With pick number 29, the Southern Stars select their international selection of Daniel Moore.
Give me more, more, more. That's what they're going to be saying. Daniel is in as well. Another new name, another international selection, but a great duper rating there of 5.84. Daniel is certainly a player who offers a little bit more.
He certainly does, James. Like, I've had the pleasure of meeting Daniel twice. He's been out to Australia a couple of times. He's brought tourists to Australia, pickleball tourists to Australia, and then he's also been over here for coaching camps as well. So he just gives so much to the game. But he's a US Open champion himself. So he comes highly credentialed. He's got a fantastic pickleball pedigree, and this is a great choice. I actually thought he would go a little bit earlier in the draft, but I'm very happy that he's been drafted because he's going to be a great addition to MLP Australia. Another
American as well, Brendan.
Well, funnily enough, this is the India trip all over again, because not just was Tadpole on that trip, Daniel Moore was there as well, would you believe? So Jay and Daniel have actually played a bit of pickleball together internationally, not just here in Australia, but obviously around. So they're very familiar with each other. And it's, as Gordon said, he's one of the nice guys. He's given so much to pickleball. He's a former US Open champion. I think currently residing in Japan, if my memory serves me correct. So it's great to see Daniel drafted in MLP Australia. And let's see what him and Jay can do as a doubles team, complemented by Mickey and Tadpole.
Interesting as well that apparently for you what happens in India doesn't stay in India. We keep hearing stories about it. Would you like to divulge a few more
No,
bits
what
of
happens
details?
in India definitely stays in India. But look, they put on a great show over there in India. You know, they played some phenomenal pickleball. And look, let's see what they can do in 2024 here in Australia.
And for those who aren't particularly aware of what Daniel brings as a player, what kind of style does he operate on the court with?
He's a great all-round player. So he's just one of those. He's a bit like Roman Esterreja in the way that he can play the ball as if it's on a string, basically. So he can put the ball basically anywhere he wants on the court at any particular time. He's just an amazing talent, crazy talent.
Well, Lou is up next for the Brisbane Breakers. There's not too many spots remaining. Is there someone that you're thinking has to go now?
Well, you know, like looking at the list, who's still left? I mean, you've got great names like Rob Cassidy. You've got Van Schick from India, who's just an incredible talent. Nelson's now drafted. So, and, you know, Cole Watnell, there's a host of male players, let alone the female players. So, sadly, some great players are going to miss out. But, you know, how many places have we got left? Not many. So, let's see.
Not many at all, just 7. It could be a very lucky number as well for some of these selectors too. Of course, let's just recap who still needs to select here. So the Brisbane Breakers are up next, followed by the Sydney Smash, then the Southeast Asia Surge. Fast fours, Eastern Rush, the Gold Coast Glory, and of course Summer Dallabonna will wrap things up for the Northern Crocs. Now, Summer, of course, it's a real changing of the guard for her. She'll get the final selection here. It's certainly by no means the scraps, Brendan. There's more than 170 players who've put in for this draft. And you've been saying before we even went to air today that the calibre of these players, even more impressive than season 1.
Look, the standard has definitely lifted again. I didn't know if that was actually possible. But looking at who's left, you know, there's 4 males to be selected and 3 females to be selected. Going back to season 1, we've got the names of Tina, Coco, Wes Vine, Ollie Gray, Michael, Sarah, Zhao Yi, Connor, Damien, Jason Taylor, Isha, Dora that still haven't been selected from season 1. I'm sorry if I've missed anyone there, but still a slab of talent from season 1 that still hasn't been selected, but still a slab of talent from the draft that didn't play season 1 that are still there on the table.
Well, Zhao Yi Wang Beckvoll, that's a very interesting name that you mentioned there as well. She had a terrific season, I thought, and has also performed very well away from Major League Pickleball Australia too. Yeah, without a doubt. Like, she obviously had that great run in Brisbane with Amelia Schmidt at the PPA women's doubles where they actually took out gold there. And now she's in America playing on the PPA tour again over there. I'm getting some good results, getting some wins in the main draw of women's doubles. So let's see if her name's coming up. Let's see if it happens right now. Sanj Carter is back for our next selection.
With pick number 30, the Brisbane Breakers select from Australia, Alex Fairbanks.
There's a lot of names you mentioned just then, Brendan. I was surprised that Alex Fairbanks wasn't one of them. He's a fair player. He can certainly bank a shot as well. Alex Fairbanks on the money here, if you will, for the Brisbane Breakers. Now, he's a player who's had a bit of time with Sydney Smash, of course, before we've turned into our professional league in official capacity, and then also a little bit of time with the Gold Coast Glory, now Brisbane Breakers. So this isn't exactly uncharted territory for him.
No, but he is getting thrown a bit, you're right. Sometimes these captains are choosing what they know or who they've played with before. Lou's gone completely different to obviously who she's had on her team. Like obviously said, Sarah has become very familiar with Roman. But look, Alex is a great third pick on Lou's team without a doubt. Like, once again, we keep saying, who would have thought that this type of player would be on the board at this time? He won the Brisbane event alongside Sarah Bird, Danny Townsend and Roman Estereja. We know how great he is as a player. He's so explosive. This guy can Ernie from the middle of the court, for goodness sake. Like, his explosive power is second to none. His reach at the front of the court is exceptional. Look, I'm very keen to see how this team plays out. How they structure their mixed doubles will be interesting as well. They've got the young gun Nicola Schumann on that team as well. So very exciting things for Lou Shackey and season 2.
Gordon, I fancy myself as someone who's pretty handy around the kitchen, but when you take Alex Fairbanks onto the pickleball court, he blows everything I can cook out of the water. That reach that he's got at the net is just incredible.
Well, he's literally an albatross. His reach is that great. It's just phenomenal. And you know, looking at the roster that Lou Shackey's now created, that she's got Kyle, Nicola and Alex. There's some great combinations there. How she constructs those. It's, who plays the mixed doubles combinations, I think is going to be absolute key here. But I think they've got the opportunity, except Kyle, to train together. So when Kyle does come to Australia, he'll bring that energy and I think bring a dynamism that Brisbane obviously will need to improve on from last season. But watch out, because that's a pretty darn good team.
It's a very formidable one, that is for sure. And here's the other formidable thing. If you are a selector, there's not too many roster spots left up for grabs here for our players in the draft. Only 6 more spots to try and get to. The Sydney Smash, the Southeast Asia Surge, Fast Fours, and then our Queensland contingent, the Eastern Rush, Gold Coast Glory, and the Northern Crocs. But guess what? We go from Brisbane to Sydney now. Here we go for another selection.
With pick number 31, the Sydney Smash select an international selection of Zhao Yi Wang Beckwell.
There she is. We were very worried, especially after such a terrific season in season one. And then, of course, those individual events away from Major League Pickleball Australia. I think if there was certainly going to be an international flavour with those remaining female selections that still needed to come on the board, Zhao Yi had to be right up there.
Oh, she was. And like Brendan mentioned, she won the gold medal with Amelia Schmidt in Brisbane. So what a way to finish season one, winning a PPA Australia gold medal. And then her performances in the MLP last season were phenomenal as well. So a really strong performer. And I'm glad that she's been drafted again. I honestly thought she would be a little bit higher, particularly since she's been playing a little bit more in the US. So she's bringing that fresh experience back from the US. So I think it's a great pick, and it's so exciting to have Zhao Yi back.
It's interesting too, Brendan, because the Asia Aces, they struggled in Auckland for the second championship throughout season one. But the first one out in Sydney, which is where she's now heading here, Zhao Yi Wang Beckwell, I thought she was very strong there, and the team performed probably a little bit better. So she's probably quite happy to be heading here to Sydney.
Yeah, look, I think recency bias is a real thing, and I think that result in Brisbane was very timely. I think if she didn't make that run necessarily with Amelia, then maybe she actually may have dropped off some of the captain's radars here, because I actually don't think she really proved herself from what we had actually seen her results based in the US. Like, she's obviously had some great results. She's had some wins over one of the new players on the PPA tour, Augie G. You know, like, he's a phenomenal player, and Zhao Yi actually beat him earlier on this year, but we didn't see that in Australia. The win with Amelia, obviously Mitch is very close with Amelia. They play doubles together, so there's probably some connection there as well, potentially. But great to see her. I think she's really, event by event, she got better. And look, let's see what she can deliver in season two.
There's only 5 left. It's getting very tense, very, very tight. There's a lot of conjecture, I'm sure, behind the scenes for our captains, wondering who on earth am I going to have to pick next, because my selection could simply be taken off the table. Let's find out who is next on board, though, and it's for the Southeast Asia Surge.
With pick number 32 for the Southeast Asia Surge, from Asia, Leander Lazaro.
Lazaro is on the board here, and this is another new name compared to season one, so they just keep racking up at the moment, Gordon Watson. A lot of changes in a short space of time here.
A lot of change, and a little bit of change. We had a hint, we had a little taste of Leander last season. He was a super sub that came into the MLP Australia last season, but last season he also had some really fantastic PPA Australia results. He comes highly credentialed. He's won medals all through Asia, and based in the Philippines, he's constantly training. If you follow him on Instagram or Facebook, he's always training, he's always perfecting his craft, and he's got the medals in his cupboard to show his talent. So this is a great choice. And, you know, we've talked about the Dream Breaker a couple of times. He's an excellent singles player. So if we get to that Dream Breaker moment, he's going to be a nightmare for a lot of teams.
Well, Brendan, a nightmare for other teams, but maybe a dream here for Pei Chen Kao.
Look, Pei would be very familiar with Leander without a doubt. You know, both residing in Asia, playing around those Asia tournaments, they've definitely come across each other, and most likely even this year on the PPA side of things in Australia. But he had that great run in Auckland where he actually made the final of singles in his first PPA event, in PPA Australia event, where he knocked off some big seeds, eventually going down to Mitch Hargraves in the final. But if Mitch Hargraves stops you, you know, that isn't a bad day at the office, essentially. So he backed it up reasonably well in Brisbane. I think he may have actually gone out to Mitch in the main draw there a little bit early, maybe quarterfinals or something like that. But he was able to prove himself. And this is what it takes. And a lot of these international players that are maybe putting their names in the draw but aren't getting selected. Maybe it's about actually coming to the shores, playing a PPA event, exposing yourself, showing them what you can do, and as Gordon said, giving them a taste of you, essentially, so they know what they're getting themselves into. And Leander's done that. He's done the hard yards.
He has.
Certainly has. Now, the other thing I want to raise here, we've only got 4 more selections left. It's about to be a whole swathe of Queensland picks as well to close things out. The Fast Fours, they're up next, and they had a really good finish to season one, of course, going so deep at Brisbane, not quite getting the big prize, but there's a little bit to consider here for George Wall, and I think he's still left himself open with so much talent on the board that he could come up with something really good.
Well, and you just never know what's going to happen with George Wall. He's the thinker's thinking man, and I'm sure he's got something up his sleeve. He's secured the #1 draft pick from last season in Lucas Pascoe. He's got Ting Wei, who already. So who's he going to round it out with? What females he going to go with? So, yeah, let's find out.
Well, George Wall, the Aristotle's Aristotle, if you will. He's up next here for our next selection.
With pick number 33, the Fast Fours select their international pick, Liz Trueluck.
Truthfully, pretty lucky as well to still have Liz on the board here for George Wall. And not a bad duper either, 5.386. Liz Trueluck, what can you tell us, Brendan?
Look, she's an American talent. She's obviously been honing her skills on the PPA Tour in America. As you said, a relatively solid duper. I actually had a chat to one of my colleagues today, and they said she's actually one of the nicest people in pickleball in America as well. So she's quite young, I believe only 24 years old, but really looking forward to, obviously, her coming to Australia. She's joining a very good team with George, Ting and Lucas, and we'll see what results they can put on the board.
A lot of Americans here for Major League Pickleball Australia. Let's just keep that in mind. We are still in the land down under, but we might have to form a genuine hybrid between the two at this rate, Gordon.
Well, I'm surprised Liz didn't go earlier because she's currently ranked, in the top 20 in the Carvana PPA in the US. She's also a top 40 performer in the same for women's doubles. So she's an absolute power packet. So, and she just brings that experience to Australia. And I am just so excited about season 2 and where this is going and the possibilities that the combinations can bring are just mind-blowing. Not only the relationships between Australia and the US, it's just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, another good selection there from George Wall, as we mentioned, the thinking man, if you will, and he certainly has got not so much a head scratch. He's come up with a lot of solutions here, I feel, after a season that was a little bit up and down, but finished very strongly and looking to improve here for season 2. Okay, well, there's only 3 more selections available here for our teams, and it all comes from Queensland. Katie Hart is up next for the Eastern Rush. Here we go.
With pick number 34, the Eastern Rush select from Australia, Oliver Gray.
Well, the young gun is back, and of course it'll be straight after the Fast Fours as well. George Wall won't get to use his services this time around for season 2, but Ollie Gray, once more, we talk about having a pretty decent duper. He's another player that does exactly that, but I think the big benefit of Ollie here, Brennan, is the youth.
Look, I think this would have been a very nervous young boy, to get to pick 34 and your name still hasn't been drawn. I know he loves MLP, he loves pickleball in general, so it's great that he's got the opportunity now to prove himself again in season 2. Obviously, I think it was one of George's last picks as well. If we remember back to season 1, there was a lot on the board and he went with the youth in Ollie Gray, and it ended up paying off reasonably well for George in season 1. As we keep saying, they had a really good third event in season 1, obviously making the final there in Brisbane. But Oliver Gray, he's played a reasonable amount of mixed doubles with Katie Hart over the last few years. He's also coached and mentored by Mike Newell, who has been the Eastern Rush captain, the Eastern Rush coach, I should say, in season 1. So great to see him having the opportunity here to prove himself once again.
And Gordon, Brendan's mentioned there, that little combination with Katie Hart, do you reckon that's one of the key factors here in selecting Ollie? Yeah,
absolutely. It's that local factor, and let's face it, he's a great player. And he's young, so it's a great choice by Katie. They love playing together and they love playing against each other. So they just have that really, it's almost like a brother-sister relationship. So I think from that point of view, the chemistry is definitely there. And when you add in Jasmine and Armin to the mix as well, the Eastern Rush, and with Coach Mike Newell, this could be a real power packet of a team. So yeah, nice balance, I think, for the Eastern Rush.
I think they could be in for another big season here in season 2. And speaking of 2, there's only 2 more spots up for grabs here for all of our very talented players who have put their names into the draft. And I think it's important to mention here, Brendan and Gordon, that even if you're not being selected here for season 2, there is still the chance that you could be called upon as a super sub. We've seen it happen in season 1. There's some terrific talent here, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you aren't good enough, so to speak, to play in Major League Pickleball Australia. It just might not be your time.
That's right. And look, there's always going to be more opportunities out there. So just because it wasn't your season this season, keep doing what you're doing, and next year, see what opportunities come about.
Well, here we go, the second last selection of season 2's draft.
With pick number 35, the Gold Coast Glory select from Asia, Sarah Jane Lim.
Sarah Jane Lim joins Sarah Burr, a couple of Sarahs in the team here, and already, of course, we've got half of the old firm back together with Roman Esterai in there as well, but otherwise some new faces, and one of those is Sarah Jane Lim.
Look, I think Sarah Jane Lim really proved herself in season 1, and I think she was actually one of the fan favourites, you know. Like, I think for those that are on social media, whether it was her or Casey Rogers, but the Western Vipers definitely had the best Instagram content out there, and I think Sarah may have had something to do with that. But aside from the Instagram content, she brought a real all-round game. We hadn't seen her prior to 2024 in Australia, but what she did really well was that she was a real team player. And I think that's, as I said, from Sarah's first pick, Sarah Burr that is, she was really looking at building a team that she resonated well with, she could get on well with, and that she could compete with on the court. And Sarah Jane Lim also had some phenomenal results on the singles court in the PPA Tour. So she's not a one-trick wonder, well, you know, so she brings that versatility in doubles. And if it does get to a dream breaker, she brings some extensive single skill. And I think she actually had some really quality wins multiple times over Rose Van Reek in PPA.
Which is certainly a difficult thing to do. You talked about potentially getting over Mitch Hargreaves or even losing to him. Well, anything there where you're trying to compete with Rose Van Reek, you've obviously done quite well to do so. But it's a great point you raise as well about Sarah Bird just looking to build that team harmony and team chemistry. If there's one player just in my time from interviewing the different captains and the different players throughout the various championships, Sarah always comes across as this very likeable, very easygoing and very personable person. So I think building that team camaraderie, probably top of her mind and part of the reason why we've got this selection here.
Absolutely, and it's funny, she put I think it was either herself or Shannon put up a post on Instagram yesterday having a little bit of banter about what, how Sarah would pick and the things that she was looking for, and that team chemistry was definitely high on the list. And Sarah Jane Lim, well, I'll be honest, I adore Sarah Jane. She's absolute star performer who gives 200% every time she gets on the court. You know, whether it's playing doubles with Leander in the PPA Australia or playing with the Western Vipers, there's no doubt she gave 100% plus last season, and I'm so glad she's been rewarded this time round again in season 2.
Now, of course, there is only one spot left up for grabs here at the selection table from our draft. What we will do once we've gone through this final pick, we'll bring up a graphic for you once more that shows the entirety of each of these teams. Now, Brendan and Gordon have been instrumentally documenting every single part of what's been going on here. But I've got to throw this question one more time. There's only one spot left. 47 of the 48 players already accounted for. 35 of the 36 picks, they're done and dusted. Of all the talent that is still remaining there, you've got to pick one here, gentlemen. Brendan, we'll start with you. Who would you take?
Look, it's quite simple for me. He's been a stalwart of Australian pickleball for so many years. I'd love to see Wes Vine be selected in this last spot.
Wes Vine. Gordon, what about you?
I'm inclined to think the same thing because Wes is just like an Australian icon, and you know, but someone has to miss out, sadly, and who it's going to be is up in the air until now.
Well, if it is Wes, it'd certainly be a very handy selection at number 36, if you don't mind. Summer Dalabona has the final honours, but in terms of telling us exactly how it's all going to fall, we'll leave those final honours to our league commissioner, Sanj Carter.
With pick 36, the Northern Crocs select from New Zealand, Kyle Watnell.
Well, it wasn't quite Wes Vine, not to be, but there is another big name in the world of pickleball. Kyle Watnell, certainly a player that has been around the traps. And, you know, we talk about some of these iconic players. Kyle definitely fits the mould. Great duper as well. 5.6 plus, if you don't mind. So I certainly think Summers come up trumps here, given it's pick number 36.
Look, without a doubt, to get Kyle at this stage of the draw in that last spot, it is a great result for Summer. Kyle, he had some good results in season one on both the MLP side of things and the PPA side of things, but I still think he's got a bit to prove and a bit to show, and I think he has the opportunity here alongside Summer, Harsh and Andy to do so, and I think we'll see a lot more from Kyle in season two.
And of course, spending a bit of time with the Southern Stars last year, Kyle Watnell perhaps looking for, I suppose, a bit of a rejuvenation. There was some struggles. There was a lot of up and down for the team as a whole, but it's a pretty settled unit here, despite the new faces for the Northern Crocs.
Yeah, I intend to agree with Brendan. I think Kyle will be really looking to prove himself because he's a highly credentialed player, and I think we're in a position to see the best from Kyle now and just what he brings to the game because he's such an accomplished player and he's such a great team player as well. So it's a credit to him that he's picked up this last spot in the MLP Australia draft. So, yeah, well done. Well done to the Northern Crocs.
Well, congratulations to all of our captains on their selections and all the players who have been selected as part of the Season 2 draft for Major League Pickleball Australia 2024. Sanj Carter is back on the desk here, our league commissioner. Before we have a little recap here as well about every single selection and how the teams will look for Season 2, Sanj, I want to get your thoughts as the woman who's in charge of the whole show.
Look, it's a great question, and I look at the talent that's been put on these lists and these teams. I think it's been great thought with a lot of the captains. They've obviously had their lists there. They've taken their opportunities when they've come up. Some great combinations of players getting back together, as you guys mentioned, some really OG combinations. So I'm really excited to see how those teams develop. But then this smattering of new talent, young talent, which brings excitement to the sport. That for me is the absolute pinnacle when I look at some of these teams. And again, we've seen every team make an international selection this year. So I'm really keen to see how they fit in and how the captains actually now start to bring those teams together. It's, look, I can't wait.
Sanj, one of the things that I know you personally love is when we see the personality away from just the paddle, if you will, on the pickleball court. The likes of Yuvi Ruya, not included, Coco Lococo, these were two of the big personalities in Season 1. Obviously, they still have a very soft spot in our hearts here at Major League Pickleball Australia, but who do you think are going to be some of those big personalities for Season 2?
Oh, some big personalities. Look, they're probably all the way across the board, and we'll probably have some new ones too, but I think, look, you can't go past the #1 selection, Danielle Townsend. Great, as you said, great with the paddle, great in terms of personality. We're going to see big things from her. And again, I can't wait to see the combination of seeing Lucas and George, not maybe the biggest personalities, but I think they can put some really cool stuff together, which would be great to see. And then probably my sneaky one is seeing Pei and Leander. Leander subbed in for the Southeast Asia surge this year. It's a really strong Southeast Asia presence in that team, and I'm really excited to see what they can put together. So maybe not the big personality in terms of energy, but the chemistry and what they can create is going to be pretty special.
Certainly plenty of new storylines throughout Season 2 here for Major League Pickleball Australia 2024. If you do want to follow the journey, of course, make sure to get across it on social media. The Instagram will have all the details for you as well. Now, Brendan Lee, you've been tabulating all the different selections here. We've got the final squads. Let's run through each of our captains and what they're lining up with here for Season 2.
Alrighty, so the Southeast Asia Surge, obviously Pei captain of that team. First round pick, she went with Shay. Second round, she went with Marcel. And third round, she went with Leander. Mavericks, captained by Aaron Blitz. Rose Van Reek, really good choice there by Aaron. Wes Gabrielson and Talia Saunders. The Eastern Rush, captained by Katie Hart, going Season 1 powerhouse Aman Bardia, following it up with Jasmine and bringing in the young gun Australian Ollie Gray. The Sydney Smash, led by Captain Mitch Hargraves, but going with Joey Wild, his doubles partner. They've played so much together over the last 12 months. Selena and Zhao Yi. Gold Coast Glory, led by Captain Sarah Burr. Very experienced team here. No youth on this team. And look, I better be careful with what I describe as youth, but everyone over 30 in this team, let's say. So Vish, Roman and Sarah Jane Lim coming in with the Gold Coast Glory. Asia Aces, led by Venice, coming in with Phu Quinn, Jamie Haas and Nielsen Chan. A great addition to the Northern Crocs there in Season 1 was Nielsen. The Crocs, speaking of the Crocs, Summer, Harsh, Andy and Kyle Watnell, Western Vipers. And I don't want to call it too early because we might get to this in a minute, but this is my earliest pick team to go do great things in season 2. But Captain Andy Horridge selecting Amelia Schmidt, Shelby Bates and Ryan Henry. The Fast Fours led by Captain George Wall going with Ting, Lucas and Liz. The New Zealand Hustle first pick, Danielle Townsend, congratulations on your number 1 draft pick. Going Michelle Esquivel and Robert Sterling, the upcoming Australian player. Southern Stars, Jay Grewal, Mickey Hayat, Tadpole, Joe Yuko and Daniel Moore rounding out that team. And last but certainly not least, the Brisbane Breakers, Lou Shackey, bringing in powerhouse American Kyle Yates, young gun Australian Nicola Schumann and Alex Fairbanks, finishing up that team.
They're all incredible squads, certainly for season 2. We saw some amazing teams put together for season 1. And we know how that all finished up. The big question is, how is season 2 going to finish up? I'm going to get the early predictions here. Gordon, I'll start with you. Who are you thinking is going to be the big victors, so to speak, of this season 2 draft?
Well, just looking, I tend to agree with Brendan. I think without doubt, one of the big improvers will be the Western Vipers. When you look at that team on paper, Amelia Schmidt, Shelby Bates, Ryan Henry and Andy Horridge, it just packs power and finesse. And I think that team is going to be a team to watch. But then you look at the other teams. You know, the New Zealand Hustle have done so well. Congratulations to Danielle. It's fantastic that she's been rewarded with that number 1 draft pick, and the Hustle have secured Rob Sterling, who's a real X factor. So I think there's a lot of question marks, and it really begs the question. Let's get to the Gold Coast and see where the rubber hits the road, because it's going to be absolutely fantastic to see these teams in action.
We'll touch on our upcoming dates very soon, but let's throw it here to the League Commissioner. Same question that I've asked Gordon there. Who are you expecting big things from for 2024?
Look, I think the league. We see all these players in. I think, we've got a lot to live up to put on an amazing show for all these athletes and these teams. And look, having a look at the list here these captains have put together, it's actually really hard to pick a front runner. And I think we're going to see some super close matches. And I know it's sitting on the fence and not making a prediction for you, James, and I know you'll hate me for doing that. But look, it's just going to be which team can put the chemistry together, who can perform on the day for each event, under each circumstance being different. So, yeah, really, really keen to see which of these captains can bring their teams together, because in the end, Major League Pickleball's all about the energy, who can put it together and put on the show.
Sanj, trust me, there's nothing but love here. You're doing a great job with Major League Pickleball Australia. Coming up for season 2, just before we take a look at the dates, you made a sly little mention of it there that you're expecting big things with that new youthful combination. Are you going to stick with that idea?
Look, I do think the Vipers are in a really good position to succeed in season 2. I really like how Andy has drafted. As we said, Amelia Shelby and Ryan Henry. I also think Mitch is in a really good position to succeed here in season 1. He's one of Australia's leading players, has been for a number of years now. Definitely didn't get the results in season 1 that he would have liked, but I think the fact that he's got Joey, Selena, who's a relatively unknown to a lot of players, and Zhao Yi, who we saw, as we said, increasing in form throughout the series. I think the Sydney Smash will be one to watch. And finally, I'll throw it there, the Southeast Asia surge. I think that the doubles combination of Pei and Shea is always going to be formidable. I don't see them losing a great deal of doubles, women's doubles rubbers. And then you add in Marcel and Leander, and I think that those 3 will be tough to beat in season 2.
Look, Pei and Shea could well have a day in season 2, that's for sure, here for Major League Pickleball Australia. Look, we hope you've enjoyed all the coverage for the draft for season 2. Some incredible names. Once more, congratulations to Danielle Townsend for going as the number 1 draft pick. But of course, don't forget the season isn't too far away. Let's bring up the dates for you right now. 3 jam-packed fixtures here. The Gold Coast Open from August 30 to September 1. We head to Vietnam, once more resort style, much like the Gold Coast, between October 18 and 20. And then we close things out for season 2 and 2024 for that matter, with the Melbourne Championships November 8 to 10. That'll do us here today, though, for round 2 in terms of our drafts here. Season 2, it's all done and dusted. Rounds 1, 2 and 3, we've picked our 36 players, 48 in total on the board with the 12 teams and their captains. Sanj, Brendan and Gordon, thank you so much for your contributions here tonight. We hope you've enjoyed all the coverage and we're looking forward to a massive Season 2 of Major League Pickleball Australia for 2024.